Y News. Prices of LPG increased by more than 3 pesos per kilogram today, while power rates may also go up next month. The government plans to come up with a national watch list that will serve as the official list for all drug enforcement agencies in the country. The Foreign Affairs Department assures the Philippines is currently engaged in serious conversations with China over West Philippine Sea dispute. President Rodrigo Duterte to visit South Korea on Sunday as the two countries prepare to mark 7 decades of diplomatic ties. And the Health Department taps 2018 budget to cover the assistance fund for Dengvaxia patients after the Senate fails to pass a supplemental budget. Y News begins now.
From the UNTV News and Rescue Command Center in Quezon City, this is Y News.
Good evening. Prices of LPG increased by more than 3 pesos per kilogram today, while power rates may also go up next month. Monokson explains why.
Prices of liquefied petroleum gas or LPG went up today by more than 3 pesos. But next month, there is a possibility that oil prices will go down as prices in the world market decrease. Based on 3 days of trading, prices of diesel and gasoline may decrease by more than a peso. However, it can still change until weekend. But despite this, it could still not offset the level of fuel price increases since January, especially with excise tax hikes. But the Department of Energy maintains the surge in prices should not be blamed on the tax reform law.
Increase in oil price is not because of the train law or because of the excise tax, but it is because of the global market conditions.
The government says it is now looking for other ways to import cheaper oil.
Russia is an option, no, but there are other options that we are looking at. And PNOC-EC is looking at towards the end of June that dumating ang first shipment.
Power distributor Meralco, meanwhile, says there is a possibility that power rates will go up in July.
Well, historically kasi kapag nagkakaroon ng tightness sa supply, in this particular case, ang impact nito will not be in the June rates but more on the July billing month.
Meralco also confirms the 7 centavos that will be added to the electricity bills this June due to the feed-in tariff. Next week, Meralco will announce the price adjustment. The onset of the rainy season might also add to the supply due to fewer demands. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasig City.
PLDT is still validating the names of its contractual employees seeking regularization following the issuance of a writ of execution by the Labor Department. Nel Maribuhok explains why.
More than 1,000 workers rushed this morning to the main office of the Philippine Long Distance Telephone Company or PLDT to claim regularization. This was after the Department of Labor and Employment issued a writ of execution on May 30, ordering the company to regularize its over 7,000 contractual workers. Among them are Julio Empleo and Benji Soniega, who have been contractually employed by the company for more than 10 years.
Kasi sa ngayon, dadaing na kami. Dati wala kasi gawa ng wala namang nung araw wala namang reklamo. Basta may trabaho lang.
Nahihirapan sir, kulang ang sinasahod namin para sa pamilya. Kasi ang bilihin ay nataas pero ang sweldo ay nakapirmi lang siya, hindi siya nagbabago.
PLDT employees want to claim regularization to enjoy the benefits and pay of a regular worker.
Gusto naming outright maging regular at mapatupad itong writ of execution na more than 7,300 employees.
But the chief of PLDT Public Affairs says they're still verifying the list of workers.
Ang kailangan po namin gawin ngayon is gumawa ng isang proseso para ma-process lahat itong mga individuals na nakabanggit doon sa writ of execution. Kasi unang-unang kailangan po namin gawin establish yung identity
The company also reiterates it is pursuing its petition for certiorari filed with the Court of Appeals seeking a review of Labor Department's order. It can be noted that PLDT placed third in those list of companies with largest number of contractual workers as it enforces a strict campaign against contractualization. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Mandaluyong City.
The government plans to come up with a national watch list that will serve as the official list for all drug enforcement agencies in the country. Here's why from Ray Pelayo.
The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency will hold a conference this June with other agencies involved in the campaign against illegal drugs. These include the Department of the Interior and Local Government, Philippine National Police, National Bureau of Investigation, and the Office of the President. PDEA Director General Aaron Aquino explains this is to consolidate their list of suspected drug-related personnel and avoid confusion in releasing figures.
Kaya hindi mo sasabihin sa barangay, may sarili silang watch list, wala na yon. So PNP, wala na yon. There will be one national watch list.
Aquino adds around 6,000 personalities are currently in their watch list, the same with the list handled by President Rodrigo Duterte. The official clarifies that it has to be validated first, and once they get confirmation, they will transfer these names to the target list.
Yun na yun bibirahin namin kasi nandun ka na sa target list, tatargeting ka na namin.
The PDEA chief notes that they already cleared 25% of their targets and iced the country to be 100% drug-free before the end of the president's term. Aquino further notes, there are still 4 million drug users in the country, while 4,273 deaths were reported in the anti-drug operations as of May 25 this year.
By 2022, we're cleared. That's our projection, that's our vision.
PDEA also expects higher conviction rate of filed drug cases as evidences they gathered will now be preserved in their new laboratory service building. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Foreign Affairs Department assures that the Philippines is currently engaged in serious conversations with China. This after Manila filed diplomatic protests against Beijing over its continued militarization of the West Philippine Sea. This follows reports of alleged harassment by Chinese forces of Filipino soldiers in a resupply mission in Ayungin Shoal on May 11.
We continue to, of course, to ensure that our areas of cooperation, especially with China, are protected. Safety of the seas, safety of travel, oil and gas, fisheries, and environmental concerns. We continue to assure you that we continue to engage in very serious conversations.
President Rodrigo Duterte will visit South Korea on Sunday as the two countries prepare to mark 7 decades of diplomatic ties. Rosalie Cos tells us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte for the first time will visit South Korea on June 3 to 5 as the two nations prepare to commemorate the 70th year of diplomatic ties. He will leave the country on early Sunday morning along with his delegation.
We actually celebrate the 70th anniversary of the Philippines-Korea relations in this coming year, 2019.
Foreign Affairs Undersecretary Ernesto Abella says the highlight of the president's official visit will be his meeting with South Korean leader Moon Jae-in. The two will formally discuss possible cooperation on agriculture and environment as the Philippines seeks to have access to South Korean market for tropical fruits. Aside from discussing bilateral relations, Duterte and Moon will also tackle rehabilitation of war-torn Marawi City. Duterte's visit will see the signing of agreements on transportation, scientific cooperation, loan agreement, and trade and economic cooperation. The two leaders may also possibly discuss the latest on the case of businessman G. Ik-ju, who was allegedly kidnapped and slain by rogue cops in 2016.
I'm sure he will reassure them that everything that needs to be done is being done, and that he will assure that justice will be done.
The Department of Trade and Industry will also hold a business luncheon forum, while the Department of Agriculture will organize a food festival in South Korea. Before returning to the Philippines, President Duterte will also meet the Filipino community. DFA says around 68,000 Filipinos are staying in South Korea. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Motorists going in and out of Cavite will soon experience ease in travel. Here's why from Grace Casi.
Public Works and Highway Secretary Mark Villar personally inspects the ongoing road widening project along Cavite Expressway. Villar says they plan to finish the project next month so motorists could be traveling with ease.
Itong na-inspect natin kanina, itong R1 expansion, we can expect this by at the latest August. But we're targeting sana July, matapos na. At the same time, pag natapos to, yung iba na gustong dumiretso sa C5, pwede nang dumaan dito, kaya hindi na kailangan dumaan sa EDSA. So maluluwag din ang EDSA.
Once the project is completed, the north and the southbound of the highway from Kawit to Parañaque, exiting Rojas Boulevard, will have 4 more lanes. DPWH also add 13 toll booths to eastern sections in toll plazas. The project also includes the flyover on a part of Tampo, Parañaque City. With this, motorists coming from Cavite can fly directly to Manila via coastal road.
Na-identify na namin yung bottleneck, yung toll booth at itong intersection with Macapagal. So sa ngayon may traffic light. Pag natapos na to by July or August, wala na, straight through, wala nang traffic light, tuloy-tuloy po yung daloy ng traffic. At the same time, madadagdagan po yung toll booth, halos madodoble. We'll be adding 15 toll booths.
The Cavitex Infrastructure Corporation allotted 700 million pesos for the said project. This year, the DPWH also plans to finish the first phase of Calax, Harbor Link, Skyway First Exit, and Cavitex C5 Link Exit. Grace Castin, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
More than 1,000 new lawyers take oath and reminded to uphold the rule of law. Judiciary manages to use speed and high endurance against Malacanang PSC Kamao, while DOJ Justice Boosters vows to block Ombudsman Graf Busters in the ongoing UNTV Cup off-season executive face-off eliminations. And American pop and rock band Boys Avenue back in the Philippines for a 3-day concert. Welcome back. The Department of Health will tap its 2018 budget to cover the assistance fund for Dengvaxia patients. This after the Senate fails to pass a bill before the Sine Die adjournment on May 30. Grace Casin explains why.
The Senate adjourned its last session on May 30 without passing the 1.16 billion peso supplemental budget this year for medical expenses of those injected with Dengvaxia. Senate Minority Floor Leader Franklin Drilon questioned the absence of quorum on the floor, saying they should not take up anything without it. The House of Representatives had already approved the measure, but it also has to get the approval of the Senate. But according to Health Secretary Francisco Duque III, the assistance for more than 300,000 children vaccinated by Dengvaxia should continue. For now, they will shoulder the expenses while waiting for the bill to be enacted once the congressional sessions resume on July 23.
Kahit na wala pa yung 1.161 billion, i-advance na ng DOH ang gastusin na kinakailangan ng mga batang naturukan kung sakasakali po silang mauospital. So sasagutin po ng DOH yan at ang PhilHealth.
The bill states the bulk of the budget will go to the medical assistance program of children experiencing illness and complications, while the rest is for the monitoring of vaccinees, purchase of supplies and medicines, and for the deployment of more than 1,000 nurses in different regions. Based on the latest data of the Health Department, nearly 5,000 of 370,000 children vaccinated by Dengvaxia recovered from illness and complication, while 87 have died. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Supreme Court justices remind new lawyers to uphold the rule of law and be watchful of new bar members seeking fame during their oath-taking ceremony of 2017 bar passers. Mai Bermudez tells us why.
More than 1,700 new lawyers took their oath at the Philippine International Convention Center or PICC after passing the 2017 bar examinations. Among them is the bar top-notcher from University of St. LaSalle in Bacolod, who plans to jumpstart his career in election law under the office of COMELEC Commissioner Rowena Guanzon.
It's a privilege to practice law, but with it comes responsibility to do well for our country and serve my countrymen.
As new lawyers, they were reminded by Supreme Court Associate Justice Lucas Bersamin, the chairperson of the 2017 Bar Exams Committee, to uphold the rule of law.
I exhort you all to be vigilant as lawyers. Do not permit any fellow lawyer to defect from this or from his or her fealty to the rule of law. Letting this happen may forfeit our right to expect non-lawyers to observe the rule of law.
While Associate Justice De Castro seems to be throwing shades as she advised the new lawyers to resist the tempting fame in their profession.
Even show business have inevitably seeped into the legal profession. And you will meet some lawyer members of the bar who actively seek celebrity status and the limelight, which do not befit the dignity of our vocation. Resist the temptation to be like these people.
Magistrates of the Supreme Court held a special en banc session at the PICC earlier for the oath-taking of the new members of the bar. Mai Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
The Maritime Industry Authority or Marina opens today a new processing center for seafarers in Pasay City. It also extends the validity of Seaman's Book to 10 years. Joanano tells us why.
A new satellite processing center for Seaman's Identification and Record Book opens today in Mall of Asia, Pasay City. This is to further accommodate and fast-track the processing of applications received daily by the Maritime Industry Authority. A seaman record book is a document which certifies that the person holding is a seaman as per the International Convention on Standards of Training Certification. Marina Administrator and retired AFP Chief of Staff General Ray Leonardo Guerrero says additional processing centers are needed to serve the applicants who are mostly based in Metro Manila.
Karamihan kasi ng mga ating mga seafarers nagtutungo dito sa Metro Manila kung saan ang karamihan ng mga ahensya ay nakalocate. So dito natin sa Manila, tinutugunan yung karamihan ng mga requirements nila para sa Seaman's Book.
Marina also extends the validity of Seaman's Book to 10 years.
Ang seaman kasi natin pag na-deploy sa barko, kinakailangan na medyo mahaba-habang panahon kasi hindi naman lagi silang nagdadaong sa mga pantalan. So hinabaan natin ang validity nang sa ganun, hindi lamang matugunan ang kanilang pangangailangan na dapat meron silang valid na Seaman's Booklet kahit man saan sila sa parte ng mundo na bumibiyahe.
Aside from Metro Manila, Marina is also planning to put up satellite processing offices in Cebu, Davao, and Iloilo. The opening of the newest processing center is part of the agency's celebration of its 44th founding anniversary. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
The Department of Education conducts a dry run days before the classes are set to open. Aiko Miguel explains why.
The command center continues to receive queries several days before the start of school year 2018 to 2019. An estimated of 27.7 million students are expected to go back to school on Monday. With this, the DepEd ordered teachers to conduct a dry run before the opening of classes, where teachers discuss with parents and students their schedule and the materials they need and are allowed to bring. Education Undersecretary Jess Mateo explains this is so students will no longer need to find their room during their first day at school.
Ito, ino-oriente yung mga bata. Sinasabi na dito, ito sa first day of school, yung inyong homeroom ay sa ganitong palapag, ito yung number ng room nyo.
Parents, especially those of kindergarten students, are also advised to orient their children, as younger ones normally develop separation anxiety every time their parents leave them in their classroom.
Doon naman sa mga papasok ng kinder, pwedeng bukas, Saturday o Sunday, dali nila doon sa eskwelahan para makita ng kanilang mga anak at hindi sila naninibago, no?
Meanwhile, the Oplan Balik Eskwela Public Assistance Command Center reports that since May 21 until yesterday, they received 235 concerns about school policy, exam process, and even legal issues regarding child protection policy and change of personal records. The Public Assistance Command Center is open from 7 in the morning to 6 in the evening until June 8 to receive concerns regarding the opening of classes. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasig City.
Some schools across the country are now prepared for the class opening on Monday. Leslie Longbowen tells us why.
For a week, students, teachers, and several groups participated in the Department of Education's Brigada Eskwela. Among the volunteers were from Members Church of God International or MCGI from different parts of the country. In Luzon, MCGI volunteers went to 79 schools in Metro Manila to prepare the school for the class opening. The group also helped in the construction of pathways in Kalikid Elementary School in Cabanatuan City, Nueva Ecija. Wall clocks and cleaning materials have also been donated to the school. Meanwhile, volunteers also painted rooms and cleaned school premises in different areas of Bulacan.
Masaya pong tumulong nung wala kang hinihinging kapalit, yung hindi ka nagnanasa na magkaroon ng ibang magbibigay, kundi tumulong lang sa iba.
In Visayas, MCGI took part in Brigada Eskwela of TISA 2 Elementary School in Cebu as well as in 10 schools in Samar and Leyte.
We are very thankful na yung dating daan nag-participate sa amin for the Brigada Eskwela 2018 and hopefully by next year mag-a-attend pagyapon kamo tamon.
And in Mindanao, students of Agusan National High School in Cagayan de Oro benefited from the free haircut by MCGI alongside the group's Brigada Eskwela. While in Davao City, MCGI also took part in cleaning some schools and donated school and sanitation supplies in RC Quimpo Elementary School. MCGI yearly supports DepEd's Brigada Eskwela. Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Department of Education and the National Nutrition Council share some tips on what kind of lunch or snacks should parents pack for their children. Here's why from Aiko Miguel.
Data from the Department of Health show that 4 in every 10 Filipino children are malnourished, underweight, or have stunted growth due to lack of nutrition. That is why DepEd reminds parents anew to feed their children with healthy food, especially now that school opening is just around the corner. Parents should choose green vegetables and fruits as these are low in sodium, sugar, and saturated fat. Yellow foods like pancit, sandwich, and lugaw should only be served twice to children, while foods under red category should never be fed to children, such as chips, carbonated drinks, and artificially flavored juices with high sugar, salt, and oil content. The National Nutrition Council says parents should allot more time preparing nutritious food to their children. It says it would not be good if children will always be fed with processed and sweetened snacks like cupcakes, chips, and sweetened fruit juices.
Pwede ka maggawa ng 1-week menu plan. Yan, so ipamimili mo siya ng for a week. Bawa, for tomorrow, gusto mong pabaunan yung anak mo ng veggie siomai. Kumbaga siya, siomai na may kalabasa, konting karne. So, i-prepare mo na siya ahead of time.
The canteen manager of Malinta Elementary School in Valenzuela assures that they are complying with the order of DepEd.
As much as possible, wag po silang bibili sa labas para at least ang tangkilikin nila yung mga binebenta namin sa kantin na siguradong malinis at masustansya.
DepEd Secretary Lenore Briones, meanwhile, warns canteen managers, members of Parents Teachers Association that manages school canteens across the country, of facing administrative case and fines if they are found selling prohibited food in canteens.
Pag-close mo yung canteen o ipa-remove mo yung mga harmful foods na siniserve dyan sa canteens.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasig City.
A House committee pushes for the creation of a Boracay Management Council amid the island's rehabilitation, while authorities plan to transfer informal settlers to boarding houses. Vincent Arboleda explains why.
The House Committee on Natural Resources plans to push for the creation of a Boracay Management Council to take care of the future of the island and the welfare of the residents there. The House Committee made a recommendation following reports of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources on its rehabilitation in the island. The Boracay Management Council might have the same functions as the Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority that oversees the Subic Bay. The DNR also aired its concern about the reclamation of wetland areas, particularly the wetland number 6, since informal settlers living there are yet to be relocated.
Isa sa mga contributor ng pollution po ng tubig ng Boracay ay yung mga illegal settlers po natin na walang maayos na palikuran. Hindi natin mapababa yung level ng dumi sa tubig ng Boracay hanggat hindi natin po na malilinis itong mga wetland po natin.
Though the local government is now searching for a relocation site, they have yet to construct a building in mainland Malay and Nabas Aklan for the transfer of the said informal settlers. The committee also suggests for the local government to provide financial aid to informal settlers so they could rent boarding houses in the mainland. The committee also wants to determine if informal settlers can receive funds from the emergency shelter assistance so they could transfer homes to begin the rehabilitation of the wetland area. Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue, Boracay.
The Philippine National Police reshuffled its key officials. Calabarzon Police Chief Superintendent Guillermo Elizar will be replacing Police Director Camilo Cascolan as National Capital Region Police Office or NCRPO Chief. Police Director Camilo Cascolan will be heading the Civil Security Group, replacing Police Director Federico La Rosa Dulay, who will be transferred to the Office of the Chief PNP. Police Regional Office Cordillera Police Chief Superintendent Edward Carranza will be taking over the post of Elazar in Calabarzon. From NCRPO, Police Chief Superintendent Rolando Nana will be replacing Carranza in Police Regional Office Cordillera, while Police Chief Superintendent Rolando Anduyan of PRO-ARMM is taking over Nana's post at the NCRPO. The revamp takes effect today. A total of 1,444 traffic constables will be deployed in various parts of Metro Manila, coinciding with the opening of classes on Monday. According to Metropolitan Manila Development Authority General Manager Jojo Garcia, they will primarily focus on manning traffic situations in major thoroughfares near schools such as the University Belt in Manila, Katipunan Road, EDSA Cubao Aurora, and Balintawa Cloverleaf. The agency will also conduct clearing operations along sidewalks near schools to ensure easy flow of vehicles and pedestrians. President Rodrigo Duterte issues Executive Order No. 56 institutionalizing 911 as a national emergency hotline for public safety and crime prevention. The President signed the order to replace the current Patrol 117 hotline network. This will be known as Emergency 911 Hotline, and calls will be taken by the National Hotline Public Safety Answering Center or the National Call Center under the direction and control of the Department of the Interior and Local Government. Local government units are encouraged to establish and run their local 911 call centers using their own funds, but will still be under the supervision of the National Call Center. The primary service responders are the Bureau of Fire Protection and the Philippine National Police, assisted by various government agencies. All calls made to the emergency 911 hotline shall be free of charge. Fans of American pop and rock band Boys Avenue should be ready to sing their hearts out. Leslie Longbowen tells us why.
I found a love for me.
For the 7th time, Florida-based band Boys Avenue is back in the Philippines to serenade their Filipino fans. The group is comprised of brothers Alejandro, Fabian, and Daniel Manzano, who became popular for their acoustic song covers.
I have died every day waiting for you. Darling, don't be afraid. I've loved you for 1,000
Boys Avenue is now the most viewed independent band in the world on YouTube with 3.7 billion views.
Social media has allowed for a more personal connection with your fans, but I think that's part of our, thankfully, of why we've been successful in it, is that even within just the 10 years of us being present online, we we've kind of shifted from CDs to iTunes to Spotify.
Joining Boys Avenue's concert tour is breakout star Moira De La Torre, whom the band finds very talented.
I think we all 100% think she can make it internationally because from what we've been hearing and what we've seen in her videos is that she's the queen of emotion. I think people all over the world want to see that genuine emotion. So we're excited to see what happens with her career.
They have inspired me a lot as an artist, as a YouTuber, as a singer, to be consistent with my music and to make it my own. And so to be having a concert with them is surreal.
The band meanwhile says their concert tour will be different from the past.
We decided we wanted to go back to doing a more intimate acoustic set, more kind of like what you would see in our videos, for example. And we wanted to try to bring what you get from our videos and actually bring it to the stage.
After today's concert at the Smart Araneta Coliseum, Boys Avenue with Moira will head to Cebu City tomorrow and to Davao on Sunday. Leslie Lomboan, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Judiciary magistrates will use speed and high endurance against Malacanang PSC Camao, while DOJ Justice Boosters vows to block Ombudsman graft busters in the ongoing UNTV Cup off-season executive face-off eliminations. Here's why from Bernard Dadis.
An explosive match is anticipated between the Judiciary Magis and Malacanang PSC Camao in the third game of this Sunday's triple-header UNTV Cup off-season executive face-off, 5 p.m. at the Pasig City Sports Center. Magis will employ speed and high endurance levels to prevent key Camao players, Special Assistant to the President Christopher Bongo and Lieutenant Commander Paul Yamamoto, from backeting several shots that would land Camao its first ever win. Go and Yamamoto made 25 and 22 points respectively in their last game in May 6 against Senate Sentinels and May 13 against Ombudsman Grop Busters. Magis will intensify their hustle on the defense to claim their third win after suffering defeat from the hands of PNP responders last week.
Magpapakondisyon lang lagi para makasabay sa takbuhan. Bongo, Yamamoto, siguro yun yung kailangan namin bantayan sa kanila.
While an equally determined Camao team vows to bounce back to enter the win column. The second game, meanwhile, features DOJ Justice Boosters eager in claiming their second victory as it collides with Ombudsman Gropbusters at 3:30 p.m. DOJ and Ombudsman both tallied one win each. Ombudsman coach Ricky Alcantara believes they need to ramp up tactics and line up strength to overpower DOJ Cagers.
I hope na next time makumpleto kami. Alam mo may executive, may hirap makumpleto, especially practice pa lang, kulang-kulang na kami.
Paghandaan namin sila, the only thing that we can promise you is that we will always do our best every game that we play.
This Sunday's elimination game will open with leading PNP responders and still winless GSIS Thunder Furies at 2 p.m. Bernard Dadis, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Up next on Y News. Investors are fearing a possible trade war after the United States announced imposition of another measure that impacts three of its key allies. A Texas teenager shook off the largest number of finalists in the history of the Scripps National Spelling Bee. And Golden State Warriors down Cleveland Cavaliers in the intense overtime win in the Game 1 of NBA Finals. Y News will be right back. Meanwhile, stay tuned for Angelo III. I'm Darlene Basingan. Good evening.
Good evening.
Here are the top stories on Y News Tonight. Prices of liquefied petroleum gas, or LPG, went up today by more than 3 pesos. But according to the Department of Energy, there is a possibility that oil prices will decrease next month as prices in the world market go down. Based on a 3-day trading data, prices of diesel and gasoline may decrease by more than a peso. However, it could still not offset the level of fuel price increases since January, especially with excise tax hikes. Power distributor Meralco meanwhile says there is a possibility that power rates will go up in July, but it is yet to announce the exact amount of price adjustment. Meralco also confirms the 7 centavos that will be added to the electricity bill this June due to the feed-in tariff.
Well, historically kasi kapag nagkakaroon ng tightness sa supply, in this particular case, ang impact nito will not be in the June rates but more on the July billing month.
The government will come up with a national watch list that will serve as the official list for all drug enforcement agencies in the country. PDEA Director General Aaron Aquino explains this is a consolidated list of suspected drug-related personnel to avoid confusion in releasing figures. Aquino adds their watch list currently contains around 6,000 personalities, but he clarifies these are yet to be validated. Once they get confirmation, they will transfer these names to the target list. The PDEA chief notes they already cleared 25% of their targets and eyes declaring the country as 100% drug-free before the end of the president's term. Aquino also reports there are still 4 million drug users in the country, while over 4,000 deaths were recorded in the anti-drug operations as of May 25 of this year.
By 2022, we're cleared. That's our projection, that's our vision.
The Department of Foreign Affairs assures that the Philippines is currently engaged in serious conversations with China. This is after Manila filed diplomatic protest against Beijing over its continued militarization of the West Philippine Sea. This follows reports of alleged harassment by Chinese forces of Filipino soldiers in a resupply mission in Ayungin Shoal on May 11th.
We continue to, of course, to ensure that our areas of cooperation, especially with China, are protected. Safety of the seas, safety of travel, oil and gas, fisheries, and environmental concerns. We continue to assure you that we continue to engage in very serious conversations.
President Rodrigo Duterte, for the first time, will visit South Korea on June 3 to 5 as the two nations prepare to mark 7 decades of diplomatic ties. Foreign Affairs Undersecretary Ernesto Abella says the highlight of the president's official visit will be his meeting with South Korean leader Moon Jae-in. The two will formally discuss possible cooperation on agriculture and environment and the rehabilitation of war-torn Marawi City. Duterte's visit will also see the signing of 4 memorandums of understanding on transportation, scientific cooperation, loan management, and trade and economic cooperation. The two leaders may also possibly discuss the case of businessman Ji Ik-ju, who was allegedly kidnapped and slain by rogue Filipino cops in 2016.
We'll reassure them that everything that needs to be done is being done, and that he will assure that justice will be done.
Before returning to the Philippines, President Duterte will also meet with the Filipino community. The DFA says around 68,000 Filipinos are staying in South Korea. The Department of Health plans to tap its 2018 budget to cover the assistance fund for Dengvaxia patients. This after the Senate fails to pass the proposed supplemental budget before the Sine Die adjournment on May 30 for lack of quorum. According to Health Secretary Francisco Duque III, they will shoulder for now the assistance fund for more than 300,000 children vaccinated by Dengvaxia as they wait for the enactment of the bill. The bill states that bulk of the budget will go to the medical assistance program for ailing vaccinees, while the rest will go to monitoring process, purchase of supplies, and medicines. The House of Representatives already approved the measure, but it has to get the approval of the Senate.
Kahit na wala pa yung 1.161 billion, i-advance na ng DOH ang gastusin na kinakailangan ng mga batang naturukan kung sakasakali po silang ma-ospital. So sasagutin po ng DOH yan at ang PhilHealth.
More than 1,700 new lawyers took their oath today at the Philippine International Convention Center, or PICC, after passing the 2017 bar examinations. Supreme Court Associate Justice Lucas Bersamin, the chairperson of 2017 Bar Exams Committee, reminded them to uphold the rule of law, while Associate Justice De Castro seems to be throwing shades as she advised the new lawyers to resist the tempting fame in their profession.
I exhort you all to be vigilant as lawyers. Do not permit any fellow lawyer to defect from this or from his or her fealty to the rule of law. Letting this happen may forfeit our right to expect non-lawyers to observe the rule of law.
Show business have inevitably seeped into the legal profession, and you will meet some lawyer members of the bar who actively seek celebrity status and the limelight, which do not befit the dignity of our vocation. Resist the temptation to be like these people.
Joining the oath-taking ceremony is bar top-notcher Mark Jan Simondo from University of St. La Salle in Bacolod, who plans to jumpstart his career in election law under the office of COMELEC Commissioner. It's going to be a rainy weekend in some parts of the country. Leslie Longbowen is at the UNTV Weather Center to tell us why. Leslie?
Yes, Jago, weather may not be favorable to those who have scheduled outdoor activities in some areas due to the low-pressure areas affecting the country. As of 3 p.m. today, the two LPAs embedded along the Intertropical Convergence Zone were located at 380 kilometers west-northwest of Puerto Princesa City, Palawan, and at 635 kilometers east-southeast of Hinatuan, Surigao del Sur. Cloudy skies with moderate to occasionally heavy rains and thunderstorms will be experienced in Palawan. Expect scattered rain showers and thunderstorms to prevail over Visayas and Mindanao. Meanwhile, the rest of the country will experience partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers. Today's highest heat index, or the temperature people feel, is recorded in Casiguran, Aurora with 50.5 degrees Celsius. According to Pag-asa, temperature in Metro Manila tomorrow will range from 25 to 34 degrees Celsius, 25 to 37 degrees Celsius in Tuguegarao City, and 25 to 31 degrees Celsius in Metro Cebu and in Metro Davao. Tomorrow, the sun is expected to rise at 5:26 in the morning. That's the weather forecast. Back to you, Jago.
Thank you, Leslie Longbowen, reporting from the UNTV Weather Center. And for the news abroad, here's Mary Jo Maleriado, live from Singapore. Good evening, Mary Jo.
Good evening, Jago. U.S. Secretary of Defense James Mattis met with Southeast Asian defense officials in Singapore on Friday on the sidelines of the Shangri-La Dialogue. Earlier at a meeting with Vietnam's Defense Minister, Mattis reaffirmed the United States' commitment to Southeast Asia regional security. His visit to Singapore comes as both U.S. and North Korea are preparing for a possible summit to be held in the city-state on June 12, amid renewed tension over the South China Sea claimed in most part by China. Vietnam, as well as Brunei, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Taiwan also have conflicting claims in the area, through which about 3 trillion worth of seaborne goods passes every year. Investors are now fearing a possible trade war after the United States announced the imposition of another measure that impacts 3 of its key allies. Kath Carriero tells us why.
The recent decision of the United States to push through with its planned tariffs on steel and aluminum imports from the European Union or EU, Canada, and Mexico sent shivers to the global financial market. On Thursday, U.S. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross said Washington will impose on Friday 25% tariff on imported steel and 10% on aluminum from Canada, Mexico, and the EU. A day after the announcement came, Asian equities sagged as worries about U.S. trade policy hit global financial markets, which were already shaken this week by political turmoil in Italy. Wall Street shares posted deep losses overnight after the U.S. announced its decision. In South Korea, stocks opened higher, with the Korea Composite Stock Price Index up 0.19% to 2,427.50 points. Hong Kong stocks rose in the first few minutes of trade Friday, with a benchmark Hang Seng Index added 0.26% or 80.22 points to 30,548.78 at the opening. The Shanghai Composite Index and the benchmark CSI 300 both dipped about 0.5% in early trading. Following the U.S. decision, the three key trading partners of the U.S. vowed to impose retaliatory measures. Canada will impose tariffs on $12.8 billion worth of U.S. exports, while Mexico says its measures target pork legs, apples, grapes, and cheeses, as well as steel, products from U.S. heartland states that supported Trump in the 2016 election.
This is the strongest trade action Canada has taken in the post-war era. This is a very strong response. It is a proportionate response. It is perfectly reciprocal. This is a very strong Canadian action in response to a very bad U.S. decision.
La posición de México
Mexico's position on trade or on immigration or on security or on whatever area of cooperation with the United States will not vary, not because of offensive rhetoric nor unjustified unilateral measures like this type. We will continue to defend the interests of Mexico just as we have done until now.
Meanwhile, the EU calls the U.S. decision totally unacceptable and says it will impose countermeasures. It also vows to launch a case at the World Trade Organization against the U.S. move. Kath Carriero, UNTV News and Rescue, USA.
A senior North Korean official will hand over a letter from the country's leader Kim Jong-un to U.S. President Donald Trump in a rare visit to the White House on Friday, as the two sides try to put a derailed summit meeting back on track. Trump hopes to meet Kim in Singapore on June 12 and pressure him to give up his nuclear weapons, although he conceded on Thursday that might require more rounds of direct negotiations. Leading the delegation to the White House on Friday is Kim Yong-chul, a close aide of Kim Jong-un. White House spokesman Hogan Gidley said late on Thursday that the details of the meeting were still being worked out. It was not clear whether Trump would receive Kim Yong-chul in the Oval Office. It was also not clear what North Korea's leader wrote in his letter to Trump, although it was seen as raising hopes that the summit meeting might be back on. Colombia becomes NATO's first Latin America partner, while Italian voice relief after a deal was made for a new government. And those are the latest news from these parts of the globe. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you, Mary Jo Maldariado from Singapore. Those are reasons behind the news, June 1, 2018. I'm Angelo Castro III. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching Y News.